The push to ban AR-15s in the U.S. is not about saving lives. It's never been about saving lives. This is a lie the gun controllers and DC establishment, oftentimes one and the same, if not joined at the hip, have told for a while, ever since they've wanted to ban black rifles. And the AR-15 would fall under that category. But generally, what they're talking about is black rifles. They will use terms such as assault weapons or any sort of inflammatory term they think they can get away with. Here's how you know that this is not about saving lives. First, if you look at the raw data, and this is giving the gun controllers all the benefit you can give them, either banning the AR-15 or heavily restricting the AR-15 or all black rifles in general, well, you're not really saving any lives if you look at the numbers. First off, the instrument chosen by by far the vast majority of homicides in the U.S., if a firearm, is going to be a handgun, not a rifle, or something like this. And in fact, if you want to look at the raw numbers when it comes to homicides, if somebody's going to kill you in the US, they're more likely to use something like this knife, than something like this rifle, this black rifle, this scary rifle that they want to condition you to fear. So, there's your first indicator, but your second indicator, just look at how the average patrol officer in the US is equipped. Sure, your patrol officer in the US is quite possibly going to have a rifle like this, though not as expensive as mine, but something similar in their patrol vehicle. It's usually going to be a carbine, something such as a Smith & Wesson MP15 or something of that nature, or a Ruger AR-556. Again, something duty grade. But yeah, it's probably for the most part going to stay in their patrol vehicle and only come out under very specific circumstances. The body armor they wear is level 2 and not level 4. The firearm that they are carrying on them is a handgun, and if they have a backup firearm on them, it's also going to be another handgun. This right there should tell you that police officers generally are not expecting contact, and if they are expecting contact with a criminal, and by contact I mean getting into a firefight, they're more concerned. Well, the more likely scenario by far is that the criminal is going to have a handgun like this, or a handgun in general, if they have a firearm, as opposed to a black rifle like this, an AR-15. So right there should tell you that the push to heavily restrict rifles like these or outright ban them is not about saving lives. Another such way you can tell, as the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the U.S. Currently speaking, if you're walking into the gun store to buy your first rifle, it's probably going to be, well, again, as I say, probably not something as expensive as this, but it's probably going to be some form of AR-15. My very first rifle that I purchased was an AR-15. The AR-15 is a very common rifle. There are a lot of them in circulation. Black rifles are the modern rifle. They're like the lever action rifles were to the cowboys, the frontiersmen. They're like the muskets to the Minutemen. And honestly, I mean, the fact that we have the NFA restrictions in place, severely limiting the capabilities of the types of black rifles we can have. Well, that quite frankly should not be in place. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, yes, with the number of AR 15s and other black rifles we have in circulation, if they were the problem, the numbers would reflect a lot more people being homicide victims, where the tool used by the person who did the killing was a black rifle of some sort, an AR 15 of some sort, you know, but it's not. And it's not for a lack of AR 15 owners, it's just the people that generally tend to buy black rifles do not buy them to use them in crimes. They don't buy them for unlawful purposes. So, again, what does this mean? This means the gun controllers are targeting people who are purchasing firearms for lawful purposes. Why would they be doing that? Well, the answer is simple, and they've already told you themselves. Um, when they point to countries like Australia who did something, or countries like Canada with sensible gun laws, yet they recently banned the AR-15 from people with that went through the process to get the PALs, to get the licenses and jump through all those bureaucratic hoops just to get those rifles. Far more hoops than the average American has to jump through to get an AR-15, provided it's within the NFA limitations. Obviously, it can't be an NFA AR-15, but it can be just a regular plain Jane non-NFA AR-15. Um, but then after Canada banned AR-15s, they went to handguns. They point the gun controllers here point to the UK as a shining example. And guess what they're talking about now? Guess what the massive threat is now? Zombie knives. If you thought they were gonna stop using inflammatory terms, you'd be wrong. They always use inflammatory terms to get what they want. This is why, after a mass killing, their friends in the media, especially if an AR-15 is used, well, they'll splash that mass killing wall to wall. They will make that mass killing seem as if it's something that happens every day, and this is something you should be afraid of. You should be trembling in fear over. And that, to stop these things, we have to ban the AR-15s, now. Oh, we should have banned the AR-15s yesterday. They're not. And by the way, obviously, as anybody who's actually looked at the numbers knows that even in the U.S., the place that, everyone loves to claim is the mass shooting capital of the world. That's actually not true either, but we'll entertain this. Mass shootings are a statistical zero in this country. And they generally happen in places where gun controllers have gotten their way. Guns aren't allowed. Doesn't matter if you have a license to carry or not. Yes, they use inflammatory terms like calling these things assault weapons in order to generate fear. They don't use the term assault rifle to describe the technical capabilities of a rifle. If they did, they would not be using it to refer to the commercial off the shelf AR-15 that you walk in, put some money down, fill out your 4473, get your NICS check, and then walk out in the same day in most cases. they would know that the term assault rifle doesn't fit that. They're using that term to be inflammatory. They're using that term to stir up emotions. It's because they have nothing in the way of logic, reason, or data. It's solely about disarming you. It's solely about giving the government a greater advantage over its people. Once they get rifles like this from the average person in the U.S., there's very little stopping them from going after this. I mean, it's a lot easier for them to go after handguns after they got your black rifles. And then it's a lot easier for them to go after everything else um, when they think the time is right. And that's not just your firearms. UK, they're trying to ban knives like these. Well, they have a ban on knives like these, and they're talking about closing loopholes on the zombie knife bans. Again, this is about control. It was never about saving your lives. It was about making you disarmed and leaving you dependent on the government for your protection because it's easier to control you that way. Well, I've let this go on long enough, so I'm going to wrap this up here. Folks, you have the comment section below. Y'all take her easy out there and have a great day.